Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lieutenant Michael Webb. I'm the Public Affairs Commander for the Kentucky State Police, and we are brought here today by an awful tragedy that has descended upon Western Kentucky and our Commonwealth. And it's a sad day here in this state that we have to address such a matter, but we all are here to discuss an event that took place at the Marshall County High School in Western Kentucky. And before we get into some of those basic facts, I'm going to introduce to you the governor of our Commonwealth, Matt Benton. He's taken the leadership upon himself to get on a plane and come down here to the scene and take a vested personal interest in seeing what's going on. And I'm going to turn it over to him. And we have a unified front of federal and state and local partners with us today that will speak to you briefly. And we will try to give you the best details that we can at this time, keeping in mind that we have an ongoing criminal investigation and a large crime scene, which we must take into account, and we have to be very prudent in how we release this information so as not to jeopardize the integrity of this investigation going forward. So without further ado, the Governor of the Commonwealth, Matt Benton.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This is what I would ask of those of you in the media, in addition to what was just noted. This is going to be a fair amount of factual information that we will provide to you. It will be all the facts that we are able to share at this time that are known to be fact, that are germane to the interest that you have. But I want to reiterate, and you'll hear it reiterated again, this is an ongoing investigation, and we run the risk of certain information compromising that information. So bear in mind that while there will be many questions you may have that will not be answered during the course of this short conversation with you, we know there are questions. We may or may not even have the answers to those or have the ability or liberty to share the answers to those. Everything that is possible to be shared and is known to be fact will be shared with you in the next moments. When we are done, there will not be questions, because any information that is possible to share will have already been shared with you. I would ask, out of respect for the families involved and for this community, for the gentleman behind me and those that they represent that will be involved in this ongoing investigation, that you respect the process, that you respect the need for us to make sure that things are done in a very accurate manner. And so with that said, let me tell you what we do know and what is able to be reported at this time. As was noted, this occurred this morning. The exact timeline will be discussed by the Commissioner in a moment. It occurred at the Marshall County High School. At this time, there are 19 individuals who are being treated or have been treated for injuries. 14 of those are gunshot wounds. 5 of those are non-gunshot wound-related injuries. Of the 14 who have received gunshot wounds, 2 have passed away. 1 was a decedent at the scene. That student was a 15-year-old female. A second student, also 15 years old, a male, passed away at the hospital. Students were taken to multiple hospitals, local and regional hospitals. 6 of them were flown to the nearest level 1 trauma center. 1 of the decedents, the male, passed away at that center. There are 5 other students, as best we know, at that center. 5 we know for fact. We're trying to determine that every one of those that has been shot was a student. It is our belief that they are. In terms of other information that's able to be shared with you at this time, the shooter was a student, a 15-year-old male. That student is in custody. That student was apprehended at the scene. That student was apprehended in a nonviolent apprehension. That student will be charged with both murder and attempted murder. The specifics and details of that, some of which is being developed right now, are not able to be shared as to exactly the time, but that is the process that you can anticipate will be unfolding in the hours ahead. Those are the basic facts. It is heartbreaking, and I will say this before I hand this off to the Commissioner. I beg of you again, respect the fact that these children belong to this community and to specific families in this community. And this is a wound that is going to take a long time to heal. And for some in this community will never fully heal. That is going to take a process of time and respect. And I'm asking you please to respect these families. The families who have lost their children have in fact been notified. It is intentional that we are not releasing any names of any involved at this time. That information will come out. This is an opportunity for Kentucky. While we would not want to be in this position, or whether this community or whether this specific town or this specific high school would want to be in this position, this is an opportunity for us to show how these situations can be handled. The respect, the love, the sticking to the facts and allowing the process to proceed. I'm just asking you, please have respect for these families and for this community. These are the tragic things that happen. There's no good answer for it. There's 1,000 hypotheses we're not going to go into. But there are ways we can be prepared for this, and the Commissioner is going to speak to some of the specific things that were done that allowed us to be as expeditiously on top of this as was the case. Final thing I'll say is this. While there's a handful of us that are standing here, there are so many first responders in this community who deserve extraordinary credit for their timeliness, for their effectiveness, their professionalism at every turn, starting in the moments immediately after this occurred, who have ensured that this was not a more painful situation than it already is. And I am grateful to those first responders. I know that speaking for the sheriff specifically, he wanted to make sure that it was known how critically involved these folks were. And I thank you for everything that you've done. And I want to turn things over now for some of the specifics of timeline and response and what people can do with follow-up information to our Commissioner for the Kentucky State Police, Rick Sanders.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. I'm here to tell you some times and specifics, but not to go too specific to possibly jeopardize our case. What we do know is when the bell rang, the first responders showed their best. People from city, state, federal agencies have all called to offer their assistance and have all come to this location to help. The incident began at 7:57 a.m. when a 15-year-old student armed with a handgun entered the high school and started shooting. At 7:59 a.m., the first 911 call came in. At 8:06 a.m., first responders arrived at the high school. I'll also note there was an SRO at the school when this occurred. And I will also note that the students at that school did exactly as they were trained. The Kentucky State Police has been in this area recently teaching students and faculty how to respond to an active shooter situation. And everybody in that high school reacted appropriately. As the governor said, there were a total of 14 shot. One female died at the scene. One male died at the hospital. A tragic day for all of us. Right after the shooting occurred, I got a call. We responded. I also got a call from the FBI Special Agent in Charge, Amy Hess, offering her assistance to us, helping us process this high school scene. We have also been joined by the ATF, who've offered their assistance. We've been joined by a number of police departments throughout the area, sending people here to help the Sheriff's Department to respond to calls. So we're all joined together in a professional manner to process this scene. There's a lot yet to be done. There are a lot of witnesses to be interviewed, and we're not going to get into specifics at this time. But those are the calls that came in. That's how it was responded to. The investigation right now is being conducted by the state police, critical incident response team, and the FBI, and ATF is here as well. We're processing the scene. There's a lot of work to be done. I would ask that anybody that is a witness to this to not talk to the media, but to talk to us first. Anybody that has information and has not talked to the Kentucky State Police, I would ask you to contact us and give us the information that you have. There's a lot to be done. It's going to be a long few days, and I ask for your patience. When we can release additional information, we will, but we don't want to do anything to hamper the prosecution. I will tell you the 15-year-old is going to be charged with murder and attempted murder, and we're working with the authorities now to proceed with those charges. Thank you for being here. Again, it's a tragic day for all of us. I would just assure you of one thing. We in law enforcement will do our job and do it well. And we will pray for the families that are affected by this today. And I make a promise to them that we will do this in the best manner possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Governor. More information will come forth as it becomes available. Obviously, this is a very dynamic crime scene that requires a lot of examination, and it's developing over a period of time, and we will keep you informed as developments become available. I'm not sure if there will be another press conference or what time that will be, but here within a few hours we will contact you to let you know when the next time will be with more information. Trooper Jody Cash is the public affairs officer in this area. He's doing a wonderful job of staying in touch with most of you. And then obviously I'm Lieutenant Webb, and you can contact my office as well. I would just like for you to keep in mind as we go forward, as this information comes out and you report, to please just respect the families of the folks that have been involved here. Keep in mind their privacy and what they're going through. And this is something that has struck in the heart of Kentucky, and it's not far away. It's here, and it hits home. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I think about that. We have two 15-year-old high school students that have been killed just showing up to go to school, and how tragic that is. It doesn't get any worse than that. And so I'd ask that you would keep that in mind as you report with the privacy of the families, and keep in mind the responders and the investigators as well, what they've seen and what they're going through, and they continue to go through. So that's all we have. Okay. The suspect, the accused at this time, we are continuing to investigate him. We are looking into his home and details with him, and he was apprehended by the Sheriff's Department here on site at the school, thankfully, before any more lives could be taken. And this situation was disruptive. There's no way to know at this point how much farther it would have went. But at this time, that's all the information that we have, and there's really nothing else to elaborate on. And I appreciate your all's concern and your attendance here today. There will be more information coming. Thank you.
Thank you all.